be his servant. And so now we're going to start building toward when this happened and when this will happen again. So now let's go to 1 Samuel 17. Because the beginnings of this particular prophecy and the way that I would like to present it started with King David. And so we want to get to where King David got his beginnings of him being a valiant man and king in Israel. So 1 Samuel chapter 17. And it's pretty extensive, but there's some things in here that I want to illustrate about this particular book, chapter, and verses. So 1 Samuel 17 from the top.
Okay.
Yeah, so, just want to make clear some things about, and you're going to hear some language in here that you may pick up that harkens to some other places in the New Testament. You'll see some similarities between David and Yahushua as we go through this. So when you're ready.
The book of Samuel, chapter 1, verse 17. Now the Philistines gathered together their armies to battle, and were gathered together at Shucloth, which belongeth to Judah, and pitched between Shucloth and Azekah in Ephes-dammim, and Saul and the men of Israel were gathered together and pitched by the valley of Elah, and set the battle in a tray against the Philistines.
So, Colin, this is the King Saul at the time. At the time, Saul is king, and he has gathered his armies on one hill, and the Philistines have gathered their army on another hill, and then the valley is where the battle is supposed to take place. But as we go along here, we'll see what happens with these two armies being gathered on a hill. And read more, brother.
Verse 4, and there went out a champion out of the camp of the Philistines, named Goliath of Gath, whose height was 6 cubits and a span. Verse 5, and he had a helmet of brass upon his head, and he was armed with a coat of mail. And the weight of the coat was 5,000 shekels of brass. Verse 6, and he had greaves of brass upon his legs, and a target of brass between his shoulders. Verse 7, and the staff of his spear was like a weaver beam, and his spear's head weighed 600 shekels of iron, and one bearing a shield went before him. Verse 8, and he stood and cried out unto the armies of Israel, and said unto them, why are ye come out to set your battle in a tray, and am not I a Philistine? And ye servants to Saul, choose you a man for you, and let him come down to me. Verse 9, if he be able to fight with me and to kill me, then will we be your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then shall ye be our servants and serve
God. So here you have the Philistines' greatest champion, Goliath. Now, these dimensions that I mentioned earlier puts Goliath at 9 feet tall. His coat of mails, and let's explain what a coat of mails is. A coat of mails is I don't know if you ever seen a suit of armor. Men with the suit of armor, and under that suit of armor, they have this chain link sort of coat on that they wear up under the suit of armor. So that's what a coat of mail is. It's a chain link, a mesh link iron that he had on, and that particular coat of arms weighed 125 pounds. So you have a 9 foot tall African or Philistine with a coat of mail on. That's 125 pounds. His helmet was 15 pounds, and the spear that he was wielding, the tip of it was 15 pounds. So this is a formidable opponent for anyone in Israel, because there weren't any in Israel of those dimensions or that stature. So he's coming out and challenging the men of Israel to send them one person to fight. I know where I'm from. Somebody 9 foot tall, he would have got jumped. It wouldn't have been no one person going out there. It would have been a whole lot of people. But so those are the dimensions. And so he put it on the table. He threw down the gauntlet. Send out your greatest fighter, and if he kills me, we'll be a servant unto you. We'll be your slaves. And if I kill your champion, then you'll be slaves to the Philistines. So that's what's happening there. Read further, King.
And verse 7, and the staff of his fear was like a weaver beam, and his spear head was 600 shekels of iron, and one bearing a shield went before him. And he stood and cried unto the armies of Israel, and said unto them, Why are ye come out to set your battle in a trade? Am not I a Philistine, and ye servants to Saul? Choose you a man for you, and let him come down to me. Verse 9, if he able to fight with me and to kill me, then will we be your servants. But if I prevail against him and kill him, then shall ye be our servants and serve us. Verse 10, and the Philistine said, I defy the armies of Israel this day. Give me a man that may fight together. Verse 11, when Saul and all Israel heard those words of the Philistines, they were dismayed and greatly afraid. Verse 12,
Yeah,
now David.
We'll stop at verse 12. So they're afraid of this 9 foot tall guy girded for battle. And he had a spear, he had a javelin, and he had a sword as well. You'll see later where David used the sword on him to cut his head off. But so this guy was a formidable opponent, 9 foot tall, and girded for battle. And so the men of Israel, now Saul as king is supposed to be the first one down there, but even he's afraid of this formidable Philistine or African opponent. I think if you remember when sometime back in the book of Numbers, I believe it's Numbers 13, where Moses sent out men to spy out the land of Canaan, and they saw these men of great stature there, and they came back and reported to Moses that we are as grasshoppers to them, and they believed it to be so. So I'm roughly paraphrasing what they're saying, but they spied out this land and seen these men of great stature before. And so the Philistines have then turned one into a great champion, and now he's challenging Israel to come out and fight, and has thrown down the gauntlet. So we have verse 12.
Verse 12, and now David was the son of that Ephraim, Ephraim, Eph- Ephraim, Ephraimite, Ephraimite of Bethlehem,
Ephrath,
Judah, oh, who
Ephrathite.
Ephraimite of
Huh.
Bethlehem, Judah, whose name was Jesse, and he had 8 sons, and the man went among men for an old man in the days of Saul. Verse 13, and the three eldest sons of Jesse went and followed Saul to the battle. And the names of the 3 sons that went to the battle were Elab, Elab, the firstborn, and next to unto him Ab, Ab, Abinab, Abinab, Abinab,
Ab- Abinadab.
Abinadab,
Mhm.
and the third was Shamana,
Mhm.
and verse 14, and David was the youngest, and the 3 eldest followed Saul. But David went and returned from Saul to feed his father's sheep at Bethlehem. And the
Right. So,
Philistine,
Slakia, yeah, those editorial order. They no just fair warning. I'll editorialize in between some of these so to give the understanding and a sense of. So, Jesse had sons. His 3 older sons was already in the army, so they were already at the valley where the battle was. But David was young, and he was sent to keep the sheep. He was a sheep herder, and so that was his charge, unless instructed otherwise. But that's what that's saying there. And if you notice, this is in Bethlehem, Bethlehem, Judah, which harkens back to our Lord and Savior, Hamashiach Yahweh. So verse 16.
verse 16, and the Philistine drew near morning, evening, and presented himself 40 days. 17, and Jesse said unto David, his son, take now for thy brethren an ephah of the parched corn, and these 10 loaves, and run to the camp to thy brethren. Verse 18, and carry these 10 cheeses unto the captain of their 1,000, and look how thy brethren fare, and take their pledge. Verse
All right, so
19, now
lucky we had 19. So this giant, this guy, he was he was taunting the armies of Egypt. I mean, the armies of Israel 40 days and 40 nights, back and forth, taunting them, telling them to bring their mightiest man. For 40 days, this man is out there talking crazy to the armies of Israel. And so David is now tasked with bringing his brothers some food and bringing the his leadership cheese. So now he's going to end up there and finally, and we'll see what happens from there. So we have verse 19.
verse 19, now Saul and they and all the men of Israel were in the valley of Elah, fighting with the Philistines. Verse 20, and David rose up early in the morning and left the sheep with a keeper and took and went as Jesse had commanded him. And he came to the trench as the host was going forth to the fight and shouted for the battle. Verse 21, for Israel and the Philistines had put the battle attray, army against army. Verse 22, and David left his carriage in the hands of the keepers of the carriages, and ran into the army and came and saluted his brethren. Verse 23, and as he talked with them, behold, there was behold, there came up the champion, the Philistine of Gath, Goliath, by name, out of the armies of the Philistines, and spoke according to the same words. And David heard them. 24. And all the men of Israel, when they saw the man, fled from him, and were so afraid. Verse 25. And the men of Israel said, Have ye seen this man that is come up? Surely to defy Israel is he come up, and it shall be that the man who killeth him, the king will enrich him with great riches, and will give him his daughter, and make his father's house free in Israel.
Right. So this is what happened. David dropped off the food, heard all the noise going on, and ran outside and seen and greeted his brother. His brother was like, "What are you doing here? You're supposed to be watching the sheep." So then that's when Goliath comes out and taunting again, and the men got afraid, and so he's going back talking to the men, and some of the men are saying, that's giant. Have you seen this giant? The word has gone out from Saul that anybody that kills him, he's going to get Saul is going to give him his daughter, and he won't have to pay any taxes. So that's what that means, that he will have. He said he will make his father's house free. That's what that means, that he won't have to pay any taxes. So he'll have a free ride. Verse 26.
Verse 26. And David spoke to the men that stood by him, saying, What shall be done to the man that killeth this Philistine, and take away the reproach from Israel? For who is this uncircumcised Philistine, that he should defy the armies of the living God?
Right. Now, this is a young boy, Salaki. We had 27. So, Salaki, this is a young boy saying, Who is this? Who is this joker talking crazy to the men of the Lord? Who is this guy? Why are y'all standing around letting this dude talk all this trash to us? We're the men in the army of the living God. What's going on here? So, verse 27.
Verse 27. And the people answered him after this manner, saying, So shall it be done to the man that killeth him? Verse 28. And Elab, his eldest brother, heard when he spoke unto the men, and Elab's anger was kindled against David. And he said, Why camest thou down, enter? And with whom hast thou left those few sheep in the wilderness? I know thy pride and the naughtiness of thy heart, for thou art come down that thou mightest see the battle. Verse 29. And David said, What have I done? What have I now done? Is there not a cause? Verse 30. And he turned from him towards another and spoke after the same manner, and the people answered him again after the former manner. Verse 31. And when the words were heard which David spoke, they rehearsed them from before Saul, and he sent for him. Verse 32. And David said to Saul, Let no man heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with this Philistine.
All right, now check this out. Now you have all these guys arrayed in battle regalia. David come up there just dropping off bread and cheese. It's like, hey, what's going on here? This guy talking crazy. This is a heathen. This is a dog. Say, look here, I'll go out there and deal with this joker. You need somebody to run out there and deal with him? I'll run out there. Now he's gonna say something real interesting that I'm gonna speak on here. So go ahead, read further, King. Sorry.
Verse 32. And David said to Saul, Let no man heart fail because of him. Thy servant will go and fight with this Philistine. Verse 33, and Saul said to David, thou art not able to go against this Philistine to fight with him, for thou art but a youth, and he a man of war from his youth. Verse 34, and David said unto Saul, thy servant, thy servant kept his father's sheep, and there came a lion and a bear, and took a lamb out of the flock. And verse 35, and I went out after him, and smote him, and delivered it out of his mouth. And when he arose against me, I caught him by his beard, and smote him, and slew him. Verse 30, verse 36, thy
So
servant.
let's stay right here. Like we have verse 36. So Saul is saying, well, listen, you can out there and fight that big Joe right there. He's too big for you. And so David checked him. You know, a young David checked him. He's like, I'm a sheep herder. You don't understand what sheep herders do. Said when the lions and the bears come out and try to take the sheep, I run out there and pull my sheep out of their mouth. And if they try to come at me, I beat them down. Now I did a little bit of research because I didn't know there were bears over there. They said a lion and a bear. Now I knew that there were lions there, but I wasn't sure about bears. So I did a little research, and there were bears over there at the time of David. They were called Syrian brown bears. Syrian brown bears. These bears weighed 1,200 pounds. 1,200 pounds. And a lion, you know, where if you ever have looked at any shows, a Wild Kingdom or something like that, or your Net Geo Wild, you see where the female lion or lioness are the ones who actually go through. Now they weigh, lionesses weigh, and they're just built to kill. That's what they do. The male lions only come if they need some help, but the women are the ones who go out and hunt for the pride. So a female lion, who would be the one at this time that goes out and grabs a lion, weighs up in excess of 450 pounds. So David is saying that I'm brave enough to stand up against a bear, he's in excess of 1,200 pounds, and a lion, which weighs up in excess of 450 pounds. Some female lions are 500, 550 pounds. So he's displaying his bravery. I'm brave. Well, all of you all have been into battle with other nations, and all I've been was a sheep herder and had protected the sheep from lions and bears. And I'm brave enough to go out here and fight this guy, and you all are afraid and running. So that's what David is explaining to him. My courage comes from me tending the sheep and killing lions and bears. Amazing. So verse 36.
Verse 37, David said, moreover, the Lord hath delivered thee out of the paw of the lion, and out of the paw of the bear. He will deliver thee out of the hand of this Philistine. And Saul said unto David, go, and the Lord will be with thee. Verse 38, and Saul armed David with his armor, and he put an helmet of brass upon his head. Also he's armed him with a coat of mail. Verse 39, and David girded his sword upon his armor, and he astrayed to go, for he had not proved it. And David said unto Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them. And David put them off him. Verse 40, and he took his staff in his hand and chose him 5 smooth stones out of the brook and put them in the shepherd's bag which he had, even a scribe, and his sling was in his hand, and he drew near to the Philistine. Verse, verse 41, and the Philistine came on and drew near unto David, and the man that bare the shield went before him. Verse 42, and when the Philistine looked about and saw David, he disdained him, and both a he was both a youth and ruddy, and a fair countenance. Verse 43, and the Philistine said unto David, am I a dog that thou comest to me with staves? And the Philistine cursed David by his gods. Verse 44, and the Philistine said to David, come to me, and I will give thy flesh unto the fowls of the air, and to the beasts of the field. Verse 45, then verse 45, then said David to the Philistine, thou comest to me with a sword, and with a spear, and with a shield, but I come to thee in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom thou hast defiled. Verse 40.
So this is David. We have 46. So this is David. Puts on the coat of armor. And how cowardly can you be as you're a king and you girded for battle, and you take off your battle regalia and put it on a little child. and so David said, well, I can't fight with this. This is too much. This is too heavy. And plus I haven't practiced fighting like you all, so I can't do this. I'm just gonna take my sling and my club, which is a script. The script is just a club. I'm gonna take my sling and my club. I'm gonna go get some rocks, and we're gonna go out here and we're gonna do this. Me and him. So David walks up on him, and he's mocking David because he's a little young child. He's small, a child, and David saying that, am I a dog? Well, thou sayest. Yeah, that's in the scriptures. And I'll precept that. Well, we don't have to precept that, but we know where it is. Exodus 11:7. Now shall a dog not move his tongue against Israel. So he puts a difference between the Egyptians and Israel. So this guy is saying, you a dog. Am I a dog that you come with a slack and a whip and script? So David tells him, look at you. I'm this little boy coming up to you. You got a spear, you got a helmet, you got a javelin, you got all of this. And all I'm coming to you with is the power, the strength, power, and honor of the God of armies, the God of hosts. All praises to the Most High. We got 46.
Verse 46. This day will the Lord deliver thee into my hand, and I will smite thee, and take thy head from thee, and I will give the carcasses of the host of the Philistine this day unto the fowls of the air, and to the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. Verse 47, all this assembly shall know that the Lord saveth not with sword and fear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands. Verse 48, and it came to pass when the Philistine arose and came and drew nigh to meet David, that David hastened and ran towards the army to meet the Philistine. Verse 49, and David put his hand in his bag and took thence a stone and slang it and smote the Philistine in his forehead, that the stones sunk into his forehead, and he fell upon his face to the earth. Verse 50, so David prevailed over the Philistine with a sling and with a stone, and smote the Philistine and slew him. But there was no sword in the hand of David. Verse 51, therefore David ran and stood up on the Philistine and took his sword and drew it out of the sheath, therefore, and slew him and cut off his head therewith. And when the
Right.
Philistines saw,
Right. So check this out. So David slings a rock, busting the head, and he's got so much velocity from that slingshot that the rocks is engraved and stuck in his head. He falls to his face. David takes his sword, the sword of the Philistine, and cuts his head off. That's a mighty, mighty brother, a young warrior right there. Beats up puts a 9-foot tall joker in his place in the name of Israel, the name of the Lord God, Yahweh B'Shem Mashiach, and cuts his head off. All praises. Read more, King.
and when the Philistines saw their champion was dead, they fled. Verse 52, and the men of Israel and the Judah arose and shouted and pursued the Philistines until they come to the valley and to the gates of Ekron. And the wounded of the Philistines fell down by the way of the Shaharim, even unto Gath and unto Ekron. Verse 53, and the children of Israel returned from chasing the Philistines, and they spoiled their tents. Verse 54, and David took the head of the Philistine and brought it to Jerusalem, but he put his armor in his tent. Verse 55, and when Saul saw David go forth against the Philistine, he said unto Abner, the captain of the host, Abner, whose son is this youth? And Abner said, thy soul liveth, O king, I cannot tell. And verse 56, and the king said, inquire thou whose son the scripling it is. And verse 57, as David returned from the slaughter of the Philistine, Abner took him and brought him before Saul with the head of the Philistine in his hand. Verse 58, and Saul said unto him, whose son art thou, young man? And David answered, I am the son of thy servant Jesse, the Bethlehemite.
Man, cut the man head off. Cut the man head off. Took it with him to his tent. Then Abner came and got him and said, hey, man, the king want to talk to you, man. He's like, all right. So he mounted up, grabbed the head of the Philistine and went to the meeting, head of the Philistine in his hand. And he asked him whose son was, because remember, Paul said whoever kills this guy is going to marry his daughter, and he's going to live, pay taxes. So he's going to be free out there. And so he wanted to know, well, who is that son? Who is it? Where did he come from? He's young buck. Abner didn't know, so he went and got him. And so there is where the fame of David started. Right there. And I've skipped a lot of this stuff because it was very time consuming, and I'm trying to truncate it to get to some really good points. Let's go to 2 Samuel chapter 5. We're going to see some some things there. 2 Samuel chapter 5. So now we see where David got his fame from. He got his fame from being valiant, and when everybody else was scared out of their minds and didn't want to fight this guy. But David said, listen, I serve the God, the Most High God of Israel, and he ain't nothing. I done killed lions, I done killed bears. This dude is nothing. He going down today. He going down today. And that's exactly what happened. So now his fame is going throughout Israel. So let's see. Now he's going to start building this thing more. And Saul is going to get jealous of him. Because David is doing a bunch of the work, and Saul is starting to look like a coward. So 2 Samuel chapter 5 from the top.
The book of 2 Samuel chapter 5, verse 1. Then came all the tribes of Israel to David unto Hebron, and spoke, saying, Behold, we are the bone of thy flesh. Verse 2. Also in the times past, when Saul was king over us, thou wast he that leadeth out and broughtest in Israel. And the Lord said to thee, Thou shalt feed my people Israel, and thou shalt be a captain over Israel. Verse 3. So all the elders of Israel came to the king to Hebron, and King David made a league with them in Hebron before the Lord, and they anointed David king over Israel. Verse 4. David was 36 years old when he began to reign.
So now you see where, because of all of the killing, all of the maiming, I mean, that particular incident as David grew became his fame. And he became a captain of the armies, and his fame started to grow. And the people of Israel started to recognize that, hey, this guy, when we needed him, he was there. And Saul's fame started to wane a little bit, so much so that they anointed, the elders and the senior men anointed David king. Right, so we're fast forwarding. Continue, brother.
Verse 4. David was 36 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 40 years. Verse 5. In Hebron he reigned over Judah 7 years and 6 months, and in Jerusalem he reigned 30 and 3 years over all Israel and Judah. Verse 6. And the king and his men went to Jerusalem unto the Jebusites, the inhabitants of the land, which spoke unto David, saying, Except thou take away the blind and the lame, thou shalt not come to Hither, thinking David cannot come to Hither. Verse 7. Nevertheless, David took the strong hold of Zion. The same is the city of David. Verse 8. And David said on that day, Whosoever getteth up to the gutter and smite the Jebusites and the lame and the blind that are hastened of David, so he shall be chief and captain. Wherefore they said, The blind and the lame shall not come into the house. Verse 9. So David dwelt in the fort and called the city of David. And David built around about from Milo and inward. Verse 10. And David.
So this is the establishment of the city of David. David came into Jerusalem. The Jebusites, who were some people who we weren't supposed to deal with at all, Canaanites, who were cursed, they had a fort and a castle there, and they called it Zion. And so when they saw David come, they was like, hey, you're not going to be able to get up in here. Not even a blind. You're not even going to be able to stop the blind the blind and the crippled can stop you from coming in here. So they taunting David. And so David puts out a call, hey, whoever go up there first, I'm going to make him a mighty man. And here, if we go to Second Chronicles, we'll see that that's his right-hand man, Joab. Joab is the first one who who goes up in there and starts the ruckus with the Jebusites. And so David is like, well, go up in there and kill the blind and the cripple. Get them all up out of there. And as he done that, he established the city of David and started to build around the city of David as he conquered it. So this is David making things, this is David paving the road for Solomon to reign with the earth being quiet. All of the bloodshed, all of the wars that David is in, is paving the way for Solomon to have an easy reign. So verse 9.
Verse 9. So David dwelt in the fort and called the city of David. And David built around and about from Millo and inward. Verse 10. And David went on and grew great, and the Lord God of hosts was with him. Verse 11. And Hiram, king of Tyre, sent messengers to David.
Now,
and
let's stop right here.
Mhm.
This is a very important part right here to what I'm bringing out tonight. This king of Tyre named Hiram is making a league or holding hands with David. This is a very important part to keep in mind as we move along in the lesson, because this king eventually, well, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. So remember, King Hiram, king of Tyre, is another Canaanite, another Hamite, is joining and liking what King David. We'll see. I'll say that. We'll see. So start verse 11 again, King Salaki.
Verse 11. And Hiram, king of Tyre, sent messengers to David, and cedar trees, and carpenters, and masons, and they built David an house. Verse 12. And David perceived that the Lord had established him king over Israel, and that he had exalted his kingdom for his people Israel's sake. Verse 13. And David took him more concubines and wives out of Jerusalem, after he was come from Hebron, and there were yet sons and daughters born to David. Verse 14. And these be the names of those that were born unto him in Jerusalem: Shamuna and Shobad and Nathan and Solomon. And verse 15. And Ibhar also, and Elishahu, and Nepuig, and
That's it on that king. The one I wanted to illustrate was where we see that Solomon was born in Israel. So that's the one I wanted to bring out right there. Solomon being born in Israel. So let's move along. And so as you can see, David grew, and as his fame grew and people started to see that he's not one of these men to be trifled with, his fame started to grow even the more. and now everybody want to be his friend, including all of those who are who he putting down. Now they want to be friends with David. So let's go to First Chronicles chapter 11. We're gonna start at verse 1.
The book of First Chronicles, chapter 11, verse 1. Then all Israel gathered themselves to David unto Hebron, saying, Behold, we are thy bone and thy flesh. Verse 2. And moreover, in times past, even when Saul was king, though waste he that leadeth out and brought in Israel. And the Lord thy God said unto thee, Thou shalt feed my people Israel, and thou shalt be ruler over my people Israel. Verse 3. Therefore came all the elders of Israel to the king of Hebron, and David made a covenant with them in Hebron before the Lord, and they anointed David king over Israel, according
Right, so
to.
that's it. That's it on that. So that's just a reiteration of in another book that David was preferred as king of Israel because of his valiant works and him doing a bunch of killing and a bunch of merciless acts in the name of the Most High, and getting these other nations, putting these nations in order like they're supposed to be in order. Right. So now let's move to First Chronicles. Can you read my own down? Let's move to First Chronicles 18.
The book of First Chronicles, chapter 18, verse 1. Now, after this, it came to pass that David smote Philistines and snubbed them, and took Gath and her towns out of the hand of the Philistines. Verse 2. And he smote Moab, and the Moabites became David's servants and brought gifts. Verse 3. And David smote the Hagar Hagazires, king of Zobath, unto Hamath, as he went to establish his domination by the river Euphrates. And David took from him 1,000 chariots, and 7,000 horsemen, and 20,000 footmen. David also haunted all the chariot horses, but reserved of them 100 chariots. Verse 5. And when the Syrians of Damascus came to help the Hagazires, king of the Zobath, David slew of the Syrians 22,000 men. Verse 6. Then David put a garrison in the Syrian Damascus, and the Syrians became David's servants and brought gifts. Thus the Lord preserved David whithersoever he went. And David took the shields of gold that were on the servants of the Hagazires, and brought them to Jerusalem. Verse 8. Likewise from Tabitha and from the Chung cities of the Hagazires brought David very much brass, wherewith Solomon made the Solomon made the brazen sea, and the pillars and the vessels of brass. Verse 9. Now when though king of Hamath heard how David had smitten all the host of the Hagazires, king of the Zobath, verse 10, he sent he said Haggadoram. He said the Haggadorams, the Haggadoram, his son, to King David to inquire of his welfare and to congratulate him because he had fought against the Haggadazire and smitten them. For the Haggadazire had war with Tow, with Tow, and with him all manners of vessels of gold and silver and brass. Verse 11, them also King David declared, dedicated unto the Lord with the silver and the gold, and he brought from all these nations, from Edom and from Moab, and from the children of Ammon, and from the Philistines and from the Amalek. Verse 12, moreover, the Abisarai, the son of the Zerahiah, slew the Edomites in the valley of the salt, 18,000. Verse 13, and he put garrisons in Edom, and all the Edomites became David's servants. Thus the Lord preserved David.
So as you can see, David is going around making a name for himself and putting all these nations under subjection and letting all of them know we're in charge over here. So you see the name Moabites, Ammonites, the Edomites, the Amalekites. He's out here fighting all of them and putting them in subjection. So this is what is considered making the earth quiet, what it speaks about in the scriptures when it says that the earth was quiet, when it speaks about that in First Maccabees, how when Alexander came to power, it says that the earth was quiet. That means there was no wars, there was nobody at each other's necks, because he ruled everything and he put garrisons, he put military bases, kind of like what we do now. Once we go over, and not we, but this United States, they do is go over and they take over countries and they put military bases over in those countries so that they can continue to have influence and a foothold in those particular countries. So that's exactly what David is doing right here. He's conquering all of these people. He's taking their gold. He's bringing them to nothing, because if you take their gold, then they can't pay for certain things to try and come up and rise up against David. So he takes their gold, he takes their armor and strips them to nothing so that they bear, but then he puts garrisons or armies or military bases in these particular lands just so that they can continue to realize that you don't run nothing here but your mouth. We run it, and we're going to continue to run it. That's how David ruled. That's how David put his thing down. He did it through blood. He did it through sword. And he did it all in the name of the Most High God. And as you can see, the Most High God ordained it, and he backed them on every one of those conquerors, just so that he can set the standard and let you know who's in charge. So David was in charge at this time. Let's move along. So the First Kings 1:1. So now we're moving further into David's career. Now he's an old guy. So now we're starting to make the transition from King David to King Solomon. So First Kings 1:1, and this first part is it illustrates how lovely it is to be a king of Israel. First Kings 1:1.
The book of First Kings, chapter 1, verse 1. Now King David was old and stricken in years, and they covered him with clothes, but he got no heat. Verse 2. Wherefore his servants said unto him, Let there be sought for my Lord, the king a young virgin, and let her stand before the king, and let her cherish him, and let her lie in thy bosom, that my Lord the king may get heat. Verse 3. So they sought for a fair damsel throughout all the coast of Israel, and found an Ab- Abraham, Abraham, a Shutamite, and brought her to the king. 4, verse 4, and the damsel was very fair, and cherished the king, and ministered to him. But the king knew her not. Verse
Okay,
5.
so this Lucky. So this is the people. This is David is waxing old, and just like old people do, they start getting cold for nothing. They always talking about their cold, and it'd be 85 degrees. My mother's that way. I go down to my mother's apartment, man, and her apartment is cooking, but she's wrapped up saying she's cold. So that happens a lot, and I'm sure a lot of people can attest to that happening with them when their parents get of age. They start getting cold for some reason. So what they did was they went into the land to look for a young damsel, and they found this damsel named Abishag. And Abishag was a young damsel, and she came in and ministered to David and did her services and kept him warm, but he didn't take her to wife. And that's what that means by he knew her not. He didn't take her to wife. But isn't it grand being a king that you can wax old and still have a young virgin damsel? That's what being a king is all about. It don't matter what age, you can still have your young damsel. So let's move along into this. So continue reading.
Verse 5. Then the Adonijah, the son of the Haggorith, exalted himself, saying, I will be king. And he prepared him chariots and horsemen, and 50 men to run before him. Verse 6. And his father had not displeased him at any time in saying, Why hast thou done so? And he also was a very godly man. And his mother bare him after Abbasalam. Verse 7. And he
Oh, no, let me help you with the words there. The first one is Abijah. Adonijah.
Adonijah.
Adonijah is the first one, and Absalom is the name. So when you see those names, it's Adonijah or Adonijah. Salaki. It's Adonijah. Salaki. And Absalom. Adonijah and
Absalom.
Salaki.
Verse 7. And he conferred with Joab, the son of Zeruiah,
Yeah, these names are tough, King. I get it. Yeah.
And with the Abiatar, the priest, and they following the Abdonia helped him. Verse 8.
Adonijah.
Adonijah, following Abunijah helped him, but Zadok, the priest, and the Ber Ashira, the son of Jehoiada, Jehoiada, and Nathan the prophet, and Shemir and Rira, and the mighty men which belonged to David were not with Adunada, Adunada, and
Right.
Adjun.
So, like it. So Adonijah is trying to set himself up as king in in like it. Yeah, so like Adonijah is trying to set himself up as king as David is waxing old. So he's trying to take David's place. So he's trying to get exactly what you're seeing how in Second Samuel how David went to the elders and the senior men of Israel and uh, and um, and got the blessings from the elders and the senior men to become king. This is what Adonijah is trying to do now. But the men that were close to David see this thing happening, and it's like, what is this guy doing? Is he out of his mind? So Adonijah is trying to be real slick and make himself king as he see David is starting to die. So read on verse 9 again. Adonijah.
Verse 9, and Adonijah slew sheep and oxen and fat cattle by the stone of Zohitha, which is by in Goel, and called all his brethren the king's sons, and all the men of Judah the king's servants. Verse 10, but Nathan the prophet and Ben Asera and the mighty men and Solomon his brother he called not. Verse 11, wherefore Nathan spoke.
Right. So again, he's trying to set himself up. So he's doing everything that kings usually do. They fatten, they start slaughtering, and they're having this great feast as if they've been anointed king. But the men that's close, again, the men that's close to David is like, what this dude is crazy. Mm-hmm. What is he talking about? We didn't get no pass down from the king about this. And so he ordered this feast. Adonijah ordered this feast, but he leaves out the mighty men of David, the men that were closest to David. He doesn't invite them to the feast. Right, and that's done on purpose because he don't want them to know that he's trying to abdicate the throne through subtlety. So he doesn't, but they find out and see what's happening. So now they're gonna plot on him. So verse 11, and that name there is Bathsheba. Bathsheba.
Huh. Verse 11, wherefore Nathan spoke unto Bathsheba, the mother of Solomon, saying, hast thou not heard that Adonijah, the son of the Hagarith, doth reign, and David our Lord knoweth it not? Verse 12, now therefore come, let me, I pray thee, give thee counsel that thou mayest save thy own life and the life of thy son Solomon. Verse 13, go and get thee in unto King David, and say unto him, didst not thou, my lord, O king, swear unto thy my handmaid, saying, assuredly Solomon thy son shall reign after me, and he shall sit upon my throne. Why then did Adonijah reign? Verse 14, behold, while thou yet talkest there with the king, I also will come in after thee and confirm thy words. Verse 15, and Bathsheba went in unto the king.
Can you hear me, King?
Yes, sir.
So this is Nathan saying, I don't know what this guy is doing, but let's do this. Let's go to the king and Absalom is David's wife. So let's go to the king and let's see what's going on here, because the throne was already promised to Solomon. So let's go tell the king that this guy Adonijah and his folks are trying to be slick. So I said, well, look, you go in and you talk with the king at the first. Then I'm gonna come behind you and confirm exactly what you said to him, because these guys are tripping. Right? So verse 15, King.
Verse 15. And Bathsheba went in unto the king into the chamber, and the king was very old, and Abishag the Shunammite ministered unto the king. Verse 16. And Bathsheba bowed and did obedience unto the king, and the king said, What wouldest thou? Verse 17. And she said unto him, My lord, thou swearest by the Lord thy God unto thy handmaid, saying, Assuredly, Solomon thy son shall reign after me, and he shall sit upon my throne. Verse 18. And now, behold, Adonijah reigned, and now, my lord the king, thou knoweth it not. Verse 19. And he has slain oxen and fat cattle and sheep in abundance, and hath called all the sons of the king, and Abiathar the priest, and Job
Abiathar.
Abiathar
Uh,
and, and Abiathar the priest, and Job the captain of the host. But Solomon thy servant has he not called? Verse 20. And though, my lord, O king, the eyes of all Israel are upon thee, that thou shouldest tell them who shall sit on the throne of my lord, the king after him. Verse
so
21.
Salakia. So you can see Abiathar and Adonijah and Joab. Now Joab was his right hand man. Remember when we read back in 2 Kings where it said when he was taking Zion at the time that was occupied by the Jebusites, Joab, and we didn't get that. We probably could have got that in First Chronicles, but I just want to move along for the sake of time. Joab was actually the first one to go in and slew the blind and the crippled and kill them and take the castle that was actually a fortress. So now here you see Joab is turning his back on his right hand man now that he's waxing old and about to die. So now he's trying to position himself for a place in Adonijah's supposed reign over Israel. This is right hand man, Joab, is doing this, along with Abiathar and Adonijah. So this is how crazy this harkens back to a lot of some of the things that we go through and in our own lives where we are betrayed by the people that we think is supposed to be our friend or our loved one, and we get stabbed in the back. So as you can see here, that's been going on for a very, very, very long time, even to a king. If you remember, what's the king? Nero, I believe. The Nero or Caesar, I think it was Caesar. His own people stabbed him in the back. I think it was both of them, Nero and Caesar. His own people stabbed him in the back. His own right hand man. So if you think about here's another example, like the mob. You see these mob movies, and these guys grow up in the mob, and they do dirt together in the mob, and they killing people in the mob, robbing. But if one of them transgress in any way, they have their best friend go knock his head off. So this kind of thing goes on all the time. Even in Israel, you see where King David's right-hand man is out here trying to position himself for something in Adonijah. And he know it. Look, Joab know that this is wrong. He can't say that he don't know that Solomon, the son of David, was given the go ahead to sit in the seat of David. He can't say that because his right hand man was close to him. But this just illustrates that even your friends will stab you in the back. It's been happening for years, and it happens to the best of them. And one of the best of them is King David. Okay, so we had 23.
Con.
21.
Verse 20,
21.
21. Verse 21. Otherwise, it shall come to pass when my lord the king shall sleep with his fathers, that I and my son Solomon shall be counted offenders. Verse 22. And lo, while she yet talked with the king, Nathan the prophet also came in. Verse 23. And they told the king, saying, Behold, Nathan the prophet. And when he was come in before the king, he bowed himself before the king with his face to the ground. Verse 24. And Nathan said, My lord, O king, hast thou said, Adonijah shall reign after me, and he shall sit upon my throne? Verse 25. For he is gone down this day, and has slain oxen and fat cattle and sheep in abundance, and has called all the king's sons and the captains of the host, and Abiathar the priest, and behold, they eat and drink before him, and say, God, God save King Adonijah.
Right. So now here Nathan comes in and confirms what Absalom is saying. That Adonijah, Abiathar, they down there drinking and being merry, and people, how people are, man. You see some food, you got some lamb cooking, you got some oxtails. They come to show up to eat, and these guys are being wicked and trying to abdicate the throne or take the throne out of the hands of David, knowing good and well that Solomon was supposed to sit in the seat. So this is Nathan coming in to confirm what Absalom is saying about Adonijah and Abiathar. Verse 26.
Verse 26. But me, even me, thy servant, and Zadok the priest, and Ben Asherah the son of Jehodiah, and thy servant Solomon, has he not called. Verse 27. Is this thing done by my lord the king, and thou hast not sued it unto thy servant? Who should sit on the throne of my lord the king after him? Verse 28. Then King David answered and said, Call me Bathsheba. And she came into the king's presence and stood before the king. Verse 29. And the king sware and said, As the Lord liveth, that has redeemed my soul out of all distress. Verse 30. Even as I swear unto thee by the Lord God of Israel, saying, Assuredly Solomon thy son shall reign after me, and he shall sit upon thy throne in my stead. Even so I will certainly do this day. Verse 31. Then Bathsheba bowed with her face to the earth and did
So this is the witness that they were talking about when they were saying, didn't you vow by God and by a servant or a maid that Solomon would be on the throne. So he called her and said, "Is this thing true?" And she confirmed what Nathan and Absalom was going in and saying to him at the time. So, out of the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses shall a matter be confirmed. So that's what's happening here. He's making sure that he did make that particular thing happen, and that he did say that. And so that's what happens in Israel. You got to get those witnesses in there, and out of the mouth of 2 or 3 shall a matter be established. So, verse 31.
Verse 31. Then Bathsheba bowed with her face to the earth and did reverence to the king and said, "Let my lord King David live forever." Verse 32. And King David said, "Call me Zadok, the priest, and Nathan, the prophet, and Ben Asherah, the son of Jehoiada." And they came before the king. Verse 33, the king also said unto them, "Take with you the servants of your Lord, and cause Solomon my son to ride upon my own mule, and bring him down to Gitton." Verse 34, and Zadok the priest and Nathan the prophet anointed him there king over Israel, and blow ye with the trumpet, and say, "God save King Solomon." Verse 35, that ye shall come.
We have 35. So, as you can see, what happens here, Solomon is anointed king, and he is mounted on the mule of the sitting king to show the changing of the guard, or the changing of the rulership right here. And that's how it is properly done. So they're really, what they're doing is showing up Adonijah and Abiathar that the way you're supposed to do it is the person who is supposed to come in place of the king, who rides in on a mule. The trumpet is sounded, and he's anointed to do so. So now they're in trouble because they didn't follow the protocol of how the changing of a king is. And plus, they just being wicked. They just being wicked jokers and trying to abdicate the throne. So verse 35.
Verse 35, then ye shall come up after him, that he may come and sit upon my throne, for he shall be king in my stead, and I have appointed him to be ruler over Israel and over Judah. Verse 36, and Benasariah, the son of Jehoiada, answered the king and said, "Aman, the Lord God of my Lord, the king, says so too. And the Lord has been with my," verse 37, and as the Lord has been with my Lord, the king, even so be with Solomon, and make his throne greater than the throne of my Lord King David. Verse 38, so Zadok the priest and Nathan the prophet and Benasirah, the son of Benaniah, the son of Jehobiah, Benaniah, the son of Jehobiah, and the Cherethites, and the Pelithites went down and caused Solomon to ride upon King David's mule, and brought him to Gihon.
So Salakia, King, I gotta commend you on on walking through these names, King. I really appreciate you trying. Some of these names are tough.
Very ancient.
They're tough. Say that again.
They're very ancient names.
Yeah, yeah, they're tough names, but as you continue to read, you'll get them. But I appreciate you trying, man. I really do, because I've been there, brother. I've been there.
Uh,
Some of these names are tough, man. But all praises. So again, here we have Solomon coming in on a mule, hearkening, showing that, hey, I'm the king now. And he's going to come in on a mule. He's been anointed. The trumpet has been sounded. And now all he has to do is take the seat of the current reigning king, which is David, to show that there's a changing and that he is, like the scripture says, ruling in David's stead. So we have verse 39.
Verse 39, and Zadok the priest took an horn of oil out of the tabernacle and anointed Solomon. And they blew the trumpet, and all the people said, God save God save King Solomon. For verse 40, and all the people came up after him, and the people piped and pipes, and rejoiced with great joy, so that the earth rent with the sound of them. Verse 41, and Antonijah and all the guests that were with him heard it, as they had made an end of eating. And when Jabab heard the sound of the trumpet, he said, wherefore is this noise of the city being being an uproar? Verse 42, and while he yet spoke, behold, Jonathan, the son of Abinadab, the, the priest came, and
Yeah.
of Abinadab the priest came, and Adonijah said unto him, come in, for thou art a valiant man, and bringeth good tidings. Verse 43, and Jonathan answered and said to Adonijah, verily, our Lord King David hath made Solomon king. Verse 44, and the king had sent with him Zadok the priest, and Nathan the prophet, and Benashira the son of Jehoiada, and the Cherith and the Cherethites, and the Pelatites, and they came, and they have caused him to ride upon the king's mule. And verse 45, and Zadok the priest and Nathan the prophet had anointed him king in Gihon, and they came, and they are come up from thy rejoicing, so that the city rang again. This is the noise that ye have heard. Verse
Right.
46,
So now
and
we have 46. So now they hearing this noise. They hearing this great noise. If you need a break, King, let me know, and I can, talk. If you need to get water or something like that. But I know it's a lot to read, and I appreciate you, King. So now they hear all of this noise. They hear these trumpets. They hear what the things that make it so a king is being, or someone of great is coming into power. So they're wondering, man, what's all the hubbub about? We just fatten cows, we just kill sheep, we just had a party over here. Who over there making noise? What's going on over there? And the man come in and tell him, hey man, Solomon just been seated as king. I don't know what you doing over here, but Solomon has just been seated. The priest has anointed his head. He came in on a mule. The trumpet was sounded. Man, I don't know what y'all doing, but Solomon is king. And that's what the people are rejoicing. They saying it was so loud, the rejoicing was so loud that they rent the earth. And renting the earth is tearing the earth, or causing a earthquake. So that's what the rejoicing was about. And now they're realizing that they've been compromised, that they've been found out, that you're trying to be slick and it's going to end up costing them their life. So we had 46.
Verse 46, and also Solomon sitteth on the throne of the kingdom. Verse 47, moreover, the king's servants came to bless our Lord King David, saying, make make the name of Solomon better than thy name, and make his throne greater than thy throne. And the king bowed himself upon the bed. Verse 48, and also thus said the king, Blessed be the Lord God of Israel, which has given one to sit on my throne this day, my eyes even seeing it. Verse 49, and all the guests that were with Adonijah were afraid and rose up and went every man his way. And Adonijah feared because of Solomon, and arose and went and caught hold on the horns of an altar. Verse 51, and it was told Solomon, saying, Behold, Adonijah feareth King Solomon, for he has caught hold on the thrones of the altar, saying, Let King Solomon swear unto me this day, to this day, that he will not slay his servant with the sword. Verse 52, and Solomon said, If he will slew himself worthy, man, there shall not an hair of him fall on the earth. But if wickedness shall be found in him, he shall die. Verse 53, so Solomon sent and they brought him down from the altar, and he came and bowed himself to the king Solomon, and Solomon said unto him, Go to thy throne, go to thy house.
All right. So now the guy that started all of the trouble, Adonijah, is begging for mercy. Now he don't want to get killed because he know what he did was an act that can get you killed. And now he wants mercy. So let's go to the next chapter, chapter 2, and we'll see what happens here. To all of those men who was complicit in trying to take the throne out from underneath Solomon, and they know they were wrong for doing it. So let's see what happens. So we had 1 Kings chapter 2 from the thing.
Chapter 2, verse 1. Now the days of David drew nigh that he should die, and he charged Solomon his son, saying, verse 2, I go the way of all the earth, but thou strong, therefore, and slew thyself a man. Verse 3, and keep the charge of the Lord thy God, to walk in all his ways, to keep his statutes and his commandments, and his judgments, and his testimonies, as it is written in the law of Moses, that thou mayest prosper in all that thou doest, and whatsoever thou turnest thyself. Verse 4, that the Lord may continue his word which he spoke concerning me, saying, If thy children take heed to their way, to walk before me in truth with all thy heart and with all thy soul, there shall not fail thee, said he, a man on the throne of Israel. Verse 5, moreover,
So this is King David is affirming Solomon as king as he's starting to die, and making sure he gets instruction, that passed down instruction. Make sure you don't walk outside of the ways of the Most High. Stay diligent, do the things, keep those laws, statutes, commandments, and judgments and testimonies of the Most High. Make sure you keep all of that, because that's what's going to keep you in power. If you don't do that, you're going to have some real issues. Some real issues. So I want to skip down a little bit for the sake of time. It's getting a little bit late, so I don't want to keep people too much longer on this. But as we can see, the changing of the guard, the changing of when King David did his work, going and putting all of these nations under his foot and making them subject to Israel, as it shall be again. That's talking to the title of past prophecy, future event. This is going to happen again. So all of these things that we're reading about, all of these things are going to happen again. And the one thing that's real pivotal here is how you see when David was going around and getting nations to understand what's going on and who's in charge. He had all of the big dogs under his control: Ammon, Moab, Amalek, the Philistines, Edom. All of those kings were brought down. That's exactly what's going to happen again. I want to skip down a little bit to try and move this along a little further. But here in this part here, in this first part, David is giving him the hand down and he's telling them, hey man, make sure you keep the statutes and commandments. And make sure you do it diligently and don't stray from it, because that's your wisdom in the sight of the people. So let's skip down to verse 10.
Verse 10. So David slept with his fathers and was buried in the city of David. Verse 11. In the days that David reigned over Israel were 40 years. 7 years reigned he in Hebron, and 33 years reigned he in Jerusalem. Verse 12, then sat Solomon upon the throne of David his father, and his kingdom was established greatly. Verse 13, and Adonijah, the son of the Haggorith, came to Bathsheba, the mother of Solomon, and she said, cometh thou peacefully? And he said, peacefully. Verse 14, he said, moreover, I have somewhat to say unto thee. And he said, say on. Verse 15, and he said, thou knowest that the kingdom was mine, that all Israel set their faces on me, that I should reign. Howbeit the kingdom is turned about, and it's become thy mother's, no, and it becomes my brother's, for it was his from the Lord. Verse 16, and now I ask one petition of thee, deny me not. And she said unto him, say on. Verse 17, and he said, speak, I pray thee, unto Solomon the king, for he will not say thee nay, that he gave me Abishag the Shittonite, Abishag the Shittonite to wife.
Right. So Salaki. So remember, Abishag was the young damsel, the young virgin damsel that came in to comfort David in his time of being cold and drawing old. So now this guy, Adonijah, who tried to take the kingdom from David through subtlety and guile, Now he's asking, just imagine this, man. He's now asking, now he was spared, his life was spared by Solomon. He could have died, but Solomon told him, go home. So now he's coming to and asking her to go unto David, and go unto Solomon and ask for Abishai, who was given to David. I mean, this is crazy, crazy nonsense. So he's testing the patience of Solomon, who now is king and can put him to death. Right. Verse verse 18.
Verse 18. And Bathsheba said, well, I will speak for thee unto the king. Verse 19. Bathsheba therefore went unto King Solomon to speak unto him for Adonijah. And the king rose up to meet her, and bowed himself unto her, and sat down his throne, and caused a seat to be set for the king's mother. And
Salaki, I want to make a point here because this is part of the commandments and part of the laws and statutes and commandments to honor thy mother and thy father, that thy days might be long. So although Solomon is king, he bowed himself to his mother and had a seat set up for her. That's keeping the laws right there, Solomon, which his father told him to do. So I just wanted to bring that part out right there. So read more. We had 20.
Verse 20. Then she said, I desire one small petition of thee. I will pray thee, say me not nay. And the king said unto her, ask on my mother, for I will not say thee nay. Verse 21. And she said, let Abishag the Shitnite, Abisha, let Abisha the Shitnite be given to Adonijah thy brothers to wife. Verse 22. And King Solomon answered and said unto his mother, and why does thou ask Abisha the Shitnite for Adonijah? Ask for him the kingdom also, for he is my elder brother, even for him and for Abiatar, Abiatar, the priest, and for Jehob, the son of Zerurata. Verse
right.
23.
So he's saying, you asking for Adonijah, the same joker that tried to take my father's throne from me. You asking him for Abishai, well, why don't you ask for these other jokers, Abiathar and Joab? Why don't you ask for them as well? So it's like he's saying, the gall of you to do this, right? This is crazy. This is a crazy thing, but it's all part of the Most High is establishing the throne onto Solomon. And it all plays a part of the title for the night. So verse 23.
Verse 23. Then King Solomon swore by the Lord, saying, to do so to me, and more also, if Adonijah have not spoken this word against his own life. Verse 24. Now therefore, as the Lord liveth, will have established me and set me on the throne of David thy father, and who also made me an house. And he promised Adonijah shall be put to death this day. Verse 25. And Solomon sent by the hand of Berechiah, the son Benanijah, the son of Jehobiah, and he fell upon him that he died.
Right? So this man put Adonijah to death. Put that man to death. He gave him mercy earlier, but then this man is still trying to be wicked. So he put that man to death. Now he gonna round up all. Now we didn't read this part, but part of King Solomon's dying wish was that he get rid of these jokers. That he put them down. So now Solomon is enacting his father's wishes. We have verse 26.
Verse 26. And and unto Abba and unto Abiathar the priest said,
Abiathar.
and unto Abiathar the priest said, the king, get thee and enter thou unto thy own fields, for thou art worthy of death. But I will not at the hand at this time put thee to death, because thou bearest the ark of the Lord God before David, my father, and because thou hast been afflicted in all wherein my father was afflicted. Verse 27. So Solomon thrust out Abubadar from being priest unto thy God, unto the Lord, that he might fulfill the word of the Lord, which he spoke concerning the house of Eli in Shiloh. Verse 23, then tidings came to Joab, for Joab had turned against Abunajah, though he turned not after Abasal, Abusalam, Abushalom. And Joab fled unto the tabernacle of the Lord and caught hold on the thorns of the altar. Verse 29, and it was told King Solomon that Joab fled unto the tabernacle of the Lord, and behold, he is by the altar. Then Solomon sent Benashiah, the son of Jehoiada, Jehoiada, saying, go, fall upon him. Verse 30, and Benashiah came to the tabernacle of the Lord and said unto him, thus saith the king, come forth. And he said, nay, but I will die here. And Benashiah brought the king word again, saying, thus said Joab, and thus he answered me. Verse 31, and the king said unto him, do as he has said, and fall upon him, and bury him, that thou mayest take away the innocent's blood which Joab shed from me and from the house of my father. Verse 32, and the Lord shall return his blood upon his own head, and fell upon two men more righteous and better than he, and slew him, and the sword my father David, not knowing therefore, to wit, Abner, the son of Ner, captain of the host of Israel, and Amasa, the son of Jether, captain of the host of Judah. Verse 33, their blood shall therefore return upon the head of Joab, and upon the head of the seed forever. But upon David, and upon his seed, and upon his house, upon his throne, shall there be peace forever from the Lord. So Benasiah, the son of Jehoiada, went up and fell upon him and slew him, and he was buried in his own house in the wilderness. And the king And the king put Benashiah, the son of Jehoiada, in his room over the host, and Zadok, the priest, did the king put the priest did the priest did the king put in the room of Abatar, Abba, Abba, Ababedar,
Abiathar.
Abiathar.
Huh.
Verse 36, and the king sent and called for Shemaiah and said unto him, build thee an house in Israel, and dwell there, and go not forth thence any whither. Verse 37, for it shall be that on the day thou goest out and passest over the brook Kidron, thou shalt know for certain that thou shalt surely die. Thy blood shall be upon thy own head. And Shemiah and Sheremiah said unto the king, the saying is good, as my lord the king has said, so will thy servants do. And
Right.
Sheremiah,
So here we're just saying, I'm gonna start winding it down now. It's just getting kind of late. So here we see where um, Solomon is just putting things in order so that there's peace in Israel. Part of that was slaying Adonijah, putting Joab in his place, and telling them that Joab has spilled innocent blood of men. He named the men whom he killed an innocent blood. And so this is just Solomon putting things back in order like they're supposed to be. Going to skip down a little further because it's getting late, and I'm gonna start winding down. So I don't know if somebody's still there, but so let's skip down to I'll skip down to the last death there. We can close out. Let's skip to verse 63. 43, Salaki, verse 43. And read
verse
it
40,
out.
verse 43, why then hast thou not kept the oath of the Lord and the commandment that I have charged with thee? Verse 44, the king said moreover to Shemiah, thou knowest all the wickedness which thy heart is private to, that thou didst to David my father. Therefore the Lord shall return thy wickedness upon thy own head. Verse 45, and the king Solomon shall be blessed, and the throne of David shall be established before the Lord forever. Verse 46, so the king commanded Bethaniah, the son of Jehoiada, which went out and fell upon him, that he died, and the kingdom was established in the hand of Solomon.
This cemented all of this business, this leftover business that King Solomon took care of, cemented his seat in Israel as the ultimate king of both Judah and Israel at the time. So I want to thank everybody for coming in. It's going to be a part 2 to this because there's more to this. There's more to bring out in this because the point of it being the future is still yet to be brought out. So this is the past, and this is one of the kingdoms that establishes the point that Japheth should dwell in the tents of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. And you'll see how all of that falls into place as the building of Solomon's kingdom and some of the houses in his own house and the ark of the Lord. All of these things are being built up. But the one thing again that I want everybody who's still left on the call to remember is that name, King Hiram of Tyre. That's a very, very important name to this lesson as we move forward. So, Jemima, are you still there?
Con. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, King.
All praises, all praises. Thank you for the class, brother. Thank you for the information. I know you have a whole lot more to bring out and gonna schedule it. You know, Aria's back in town. All praises to the Most High. Most High brought him back safe. So we just schedule it up with Aria, and he set you up for a follow up. So I don't know if anybody has any questions or comments. This is your time. Okay, I guess not. So you can go ahead and pray it out, King.
Let's all turn to these. I'm not the best prayer, but I'll do the best I can tonight. So I'll turn to the east. And you can stand or kneel or however you do, Junior Flex before the Most High. I'll say one thing. All praises to the Most High for giving us this word today and giving us the understanding, the true understanding of your word. Thank you for establishing your kingdom both then and now and in the future. Thank you for those who came on this call to hear your word, Father. And you knew who wanted to hear the word, and you knew what part of the word they needed to hear. So we want to thank you for that. We want to say, call hello, Yahweh, Bashem, Mashiach, Yahweh Shai. And we're just going to pray the Lord's Prayer. Our Father, whom art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come. Thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our debt as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, power, and the glory forever. Amen.
Amen.
I want to thank the brother for his
praises.
reading. Oh, Salaki. I just want to thank the brother for his reading. I know it was a lot, King. I appreciate you reading.
Thank you.
And those names are King. I get it. And I appreciate you get your own brother, man. Appreciate that.
All praises.
Okay, Shalaki Kings. There was one question that somebody put in on the YouTube stream. They said, "What's the point of this story?" And of course, they came in pretty late to the class. So just go ahead and just give a quick answer to that question for me, please.
God, the title of the class today was Genesis chapter 9, verse 27, past prophecy, future events. So what I did was chronicle the life of David, not in its entirety, but his way of establishing the kingdom in Israel, and then Solomon coming in and reigning in peace. But there's a lot of other little turns, twists and turns that was in it if you missed it. But that was the point of it, to show that there was a kingdom established and that we did at one time live in peace before Solomon sinned. So that was the point of it.
Khan, all praises, King.
All praise.
Okay, family. If you learned something, the brother did his job. And he didn't finish the job because it's a lot more information to go into. And the brother's going to get a schedule for another follow-up. for the class. So again, thank you for taking part in the class. All praises to the Most High God, and Shalom.
Shalom.
I want to thank
Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom.